Grief is something that completely throws you up off your life path. The place that seems so secure, the way that seemed so clear, all of a sudden gets completely, utterly lost, and you're forced to go through this experience that changes you forever. And especially if it's your first time experiencing grief, it can feel literally like a hurricane where everything is swirling around and there's so many questions unanswered. What is the right way to react? What is the way to be dealing with this? When is it okay to move on? When is it too much to hold on to? Is it doing this person injustice by not thinking about them as much anymore? What would they think? And depending on how close you are to the person, it's going to hit you differently. And you might not even know how to react. I know for me, when I lost my mom, I had all those questions that I mentioned, but mostly I felt numb. I I saw my family members around me reacting to the loss with sadness, silence, grief obviously was written all over their face, but when it came to me, the one who didn't have this kind of relationship with her, I felt confused. Like, how am I supposed to be feeling? Is it okay for me to react like this? And I was 16 when it happened. And so to be that young and to go through that was even more confusing. I barely knew who I was, but I had to deal with this loss that made me feel like even less of myself. And without that support, I didn't know where to go, what choices to make, who to turn to, what's what was the right path for me. And in my family, it changed our relationships forever. We couldn't speak to each other the same way. We couldn't communicate our feelings. Specifically in my family, we couldn't communicate our feelings. And we all were changed. We were all changed by it. And so it's like we were like this, right? We're just cruising on through life, going through the motions, and then everything falls apart. And we each turned into these different people that we didn't know. And we didn't know what we were doing, but we had to somehow be with each other. And it just changed everything forever. And to this day, we're still learning how to come back together. Because loss, it's forced change. And in my opinion, it's for the better. In my opinion, it happens for a reason. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't be the person that I am today if my mom was still here. And I'm grateful for who I've become because of it. And although it was painful and I would still like her to be here, I don't think that's what was meant to happen. And, that's getting into my beliefs about it, but I truly do. I truly do. I truly do believe that because of the way in which things happened in my life, where things fell apart. But now, how long has it been? It's been 5 years, 6 years, almost 6 years. 6 years later, and I'm this person here and now, and I'm beautiful. because of it. But going back to when I was experiencing the grief, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I still had to go through my senior year of high school. And I was surrounded by kids my age who were going through high school problems. And I was too. I was still going through those growing pains that comes with getting older. But with grief thrown on top of that, the weight felt so heavy, and it made me feel alienized at school, and it made me feel like I couldn't speak to anybody because nobody understood what I was going through. Nobody knew even how to communicate with me anymore. They didn't know how to communicate those feelings, and I don't blame them because we were so young. But so was I, and I was just forced to go through it. And I know that I lost a lot of friends at that age because they kind of took my silence a different way. They thought my silence was because I didn't want to speak to them. When the truth is I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to communicate anymore. I wasn't myself anymore. I wasn't the girl that they first met. I was this new person that didn't have an identity yet. And so the weight was so heavy, so freaking heavy, that I turned to substances to deal with my sadness. I turned to partying just to feel seen. And I put myself through bad situations just to feel something, just to feel fun, to feel like I'm alive again. But those situations were not true to who I was. I was just doing it to do something, to feel something, because I felt so alone and I felt so out of what I once knew. And I just wanted to be somewhere, so I chose the first thing that showed up in my life. And it was bad things, and that's what I held on to because when you're thrown off your path and you don't have anything around you, it's easy to go after the first thing that appears. And unfortunately, with how things are, that mainly is substances and partying. And, it's the easiest way to get out of a bad situation, a bad mindset. But it's not really, at least for me, it wasn't what was truly aligned with who I am and who I want to be. It was just what I chose out of comfort, what I chose, what was the easiest to grab, what was the quickest solution to my pain. And so I did this until I had my worst night and I decided to self harm. And I remember that night literally just feeling like just so much pain. Like I couldn't do it anymore, and I couldn't deal with feeling the same way every single day. I could not go like that any longer. I put up with it for so long. I didn't want to experience that way of living anymore. And so I just wanted a way out. But fortunately, nothing happened. I was okay. And the next day, I hung out with my stepsister, and it was just a normal hangout, you know. She was there for me through what happened, and her energy did make me feel better. But it was, I don't know, like after the all the sadness that I experienced, I felt happy. It was like after I finally reached the ending point, I could finally be happy. I could finally choose to be happy. Because if I was gonna be so sad, if I was gonna be so deep in it, if I was gonna be so deep in the bad, why not choose to be happy? Why not choose experiences that did make me feel good instead of continuing to play the same thought loop and being a victim of my circumstances, and start controlling my own life and start choosing what I wanted to experience instead of experiencing the pain that was continuously pouring onto me, that was continuously going through my life. I had to choose to want love, to want happiness, to experience that. I had to choose that, to choose to be happy, because unconsciously I was choosing to be sad by holding on to everything, by holding on to all the thoughts that of what I was lacking in my life, instead of thinking about what I did want and the things that did make me happy, even no matter how little. And that's how I started. It literally put me at rock bottom. And when I was at rock bottom, the only way to go is up, you know? So any little thing I could find to make me happy, whether it was buying myself a drink, watching a show that I liked, wearing something that made me feel more like me, going for a walk, like literally any single little thing that I could do to bring me happiness, I was going to do, because I had no other choice. It was either there was no more way down that I could go. There was no way. It was always going to be the same loop of negative. It was always going to be that same loop. So the only way to break out of it was to go up, to go towards what I did want to experience. In sentence form, I feel like that sounds so simple, to just choose happy, to choose to be happy, right? But when I was stuck in that victim mindset, when I was stuck in all the negative, to the point where I was at the as the result of all that happened to me, I couldn't see that there was another way. And I think that's what happens often to us when we're in depression and we're in grief, is that it feels like there's not another way. It might feel like there's just this experience and there's nothing else to around that can be chosen to experience, but it's always our choice what we choose to feel, what we choose to be living, what state we choose to live in. And it was this mindset shift that finally brought me out of grief and brought me back to a life that I love. But this time, I was going to live a life that felt more intentional to me, to who I am, rather than be a result of all the mishappenings that happened to me. And so, I hope this message made you feel seen. I hope it made you feel related to, and it gave you a different perspective on grief. Because overcoming grief is never going to be perfect. The path to overcoming it is never going to be perfect, and it's never going to be linear. But it's about the way you choose to pick yourself up. It's about the way you choose to take ownership over your life again when it's in pieces. And it must be done with intention, or else you're going to end up somewhere you did not plan to. You're going to end up somewhere that you did not want to be. So, I'm sending you love on your path if you can relate to this. And if you need any more guidance, let me know in the comments. Send me a message and I will reply to you, because I know it's not easy at all. But if I've gotten to this point today, I know that it's possible for you too. So I love you, and I'll talk to you in the next message.